Fala galera, beleza? Eu sou o Wendell Correia e eu vou conversar agora com o Brandon, baterista da banda The Neighbourhood, sobre o novo álbum que eles lançaram, o Cheap Chrome e The Monotones, falar um pouco sobre o Brasil também, nesse bate-papo exclusivo para 89, a Rádio Rock. Hi Brandon, how are you, man?
Good, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So, I wanna start asking about, it's a big day for The Neighbourhood this Friday, especially for Brazilian fans. You're doing a live stream, a live concert, and also release
Oh yeah.
deluxe EP. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm super stoked. The deluxe album turned out really cool. We were able to add 4 extra songs onto it that were one of them is like a newer song that we actually wrote after we were done with the album, and the other 3 are songs that we recorded in the process of making the last album that were like kind of like B-sides that we weren't really sure that we're gonna make it. And now that we were able to put them on the deluxe album, I'm really excited for everyone to hear it. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah, and why did this song is left out from the original album?
I think we wanted to keep the album pretty not short, but like simple, just like 10 tracks, or at least with the 200 leads, like 8 songs, like short and sweet, and kind of encapsulate the vibe we were going for. We didn't want to make it too long. I know like the last project we did was like really long. It was like 30 songs, I think, at the end of it. So I feel like we want to do the opposite this time and just kind of like a nice, concise 10-track album, I think. So we didn't want to make it too long.
And how was the process of writing and recording? Did it happen before the quarantine?
Before the quarantine, yeah, most of it did. I think some of it happened. I'm trying to think. I think we started last year around. I'm trying to think of the timeline here. I think we did most of it before the quarantine. Like last year, we rented a house out here in Los Angeles, and we did it there. And then we did the rest of it at our studio in Los Angeles as well. We had a house originally where we did most of the album, and then we did the rest of it at our studio in the quarantine, I think. When did the album come out? Fuck. Like last month? 2 months? No, longer than that.
Yeah, September.
September, yeah. So we recorded it we finished it in the summer at the studio, so yeah.
And a lot of journalists and fans are considering a new era for the neighborhood, especially with Cheap Chrome and the Monotones. How do you feel about that? It's a new era for you guys?
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty funny. Depending on how long the quarantine everything lasts, I'm interested to see how when we start touring, whenever that is, if it's like in a year or 2 years, however long this goes, if this is like going to be like the lost era, you know what I mean? Because by the time that we get touring again, we might be way past the Chip Chrome thing and might be back to our normal selves. Jesse probably won't be. I can imagine. I don't know if he's gonna. By the time we're touring, if he's gonna keep wanting to paint himself silver. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this era gets remembered, because we did some touring in the States and a couple shows in Mexico where we actually did the Chip Chrome stuff before the album was out, where Jesse came out and did a couple songs, and we were wearing like our little 3M suits and stuff. We had like production with it. So I'm interested to see how moving forward, if we're going to continue. It's going to be interesting to see, if we have another album out by the time we start touring, like depending how long it goes. So this might be like the forgotten era by the time we start touring again. It might be, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes forward.
I think everyone will remember this era, for bad and for good.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, I mean, it was fun, man. It was really cool. All the music videos and stuff. I mean, that's going to be the most memorable thing, I think. This era will be encapsulated by all the videos we did. All the Chip Chrome videos, I think, will be very memorable for this era. All the stuff we did for the album with Devil's Advocate, Lost in Translation, Cherry Flavored, and Devil's Advocate, I said, Pretty Boy. And then we have another video coming out on Friday as well, which will kind of wrap up the Chip Chrome story, I think, and all the videos, I think, for one of the deluxe songs we're doing on Friday.
And how do you react when Jess came with the idea with Chip Chrome?
I've known Jesse for a long time. We've been buds and bandmates since I was like 16. And Jesse's always thought of outrageous ideas, like since the beginning. So, I expect the unexpected when it comes to him. So when he came to us saying he wanted to paint himself silver and do this whole thing, I wasn't that surprised. It was originally, he brought it up years ago. He was originally going to do the Chip Chrome thing for his solo project. He'd always mentioned it, and then he decided to bring it to the neighborhood. So it was kind of, it was on the table, I think, for a little while. So when he did bring it to us, everyone kind of knew the idea. It wasn't that new to us. We'd heard about it before. So yeah.
And the album and the EP calling Hard to Imagine, The Neighborhood, Ever Changing was kind of a clue that was going to happen with you guys.
Yeah, hard to imagine it's ever changing, but all we do is change. It was kind of ironic with that title.
And there's a part 2 of Chip Chrome and the Monotones coming, or you don't thinking about it yet?
I think, that's Jesse's the ringleader when it comes to all the creative stuff like that. But I think Chip Chrome, I think the next album will probably be a new phase after the Chip Chrome thing. I think we'll probably keep evolving and do something else. I don't think the next album will be like a sequel to Chip Chrome. I think it'll probably be something different.
And talking about the Brazilian live stream you're gonna do on Friday, what can fans expect for this show?
So I think for the Brazil show, it's gonna be, you'll get Chip Chrome stuff. You'll get us, you'll get Jess dressed up as Chip will be making an appearance, and we'll be in our 3M suits or some of our little outfits we wear for the monotones vibe. And then I think the other half will be classic Neighborhood, just us dressed normally, playing some stuff from the last couple albums. I think we'll be doing a lot of stuff from the new album, and then a couple old songs as the monotones and Chip, and then the other half of the performance will be us normally, normal clothes, street clothes, playing just classic tracks that everyone would want to hear as well.
And I believe by now you have a lot of fans here in Brazil, crazy fans about you guys. What do you remember about the time you were in Brazil?
The time in Brazil, man, it was crazy. The first time we went, we pretty much just did Lollapalooza. We did one show in Sao Paulo, and then we did the Lollapalooza in Sao Paulo. And that Lollapalooza was very memorable just because, there were so many people, and it was just, we didn't really know what to expect, because you always hear about the fans of Brazil on the internet, and then showing up and actually seeing as many people as we did, and the reaction and stuff. It was just, it was really heartwarming, and it really made us appreciate all the love we get out there from you guys. It's fantastic.
And the teens really love you guys here in Brazil, on the subway station, every place. We always see someone wearing the Neighborhood T-shirts. I don't know if you know that.
That's amazing.
And they say, "Oh, it's the band of my life." And you're inspiring a lot of people, a lot of teenagers. How do you feel about that? Have you ever imagined this was going to happen to you?
No, never. No, man. It's like I said, it's crazy. And then when we got to go back to Brazil, a couple of years ago, we actually got to do some headline shows. We got to go to Rio and Sao Paulo. We did 2 shows in Sao Paulo, 1 in Rio, and it was great, man. It was cool to actually be able to, because when you play a festival, you're kind of on the festival's time. So us being able to go back and do our own show at like our own venue and get to play for a proper hour and a half and do a whole set, that was really nice, and kind of give the fans, a full production. Last time we went for those 3 shows we did there, it was really, really cool, and I think the fans really liked it too. It was amazing.
Yeah, man, that's fun. And I want to talk about when you joined the Neighborhood. How was the process? Did you already know those guys before?
Yeah, so like I said, I'd known Jesse since I was 16. We went to high school together out here in California, and we were in kind of like a hardcore band growing up when we were teenagers. So we had played music forever, and then I had kind of met Zach, Jeremy, and Mikey towards the end of me and Jesse's first band. When they're a couple years younger than me, and they were kind of hanging out with Jess here and there, and I'd kind of come across them, but then I'd left and gone to school up in San Francisco and kind of was doing my own thing while the band was taking off. And I had actually come and whenever they came to San Francisco, I'd always go and see the guys play and hang out with Jess and talk to the dudes. So I was pretty familiar with them by then. And then by the time I was asked to join the band, yeah, man, I kind of just I had to drop everything I had going on. And then I came back to LA from San Francisco. We were rehearsing because I believe we were playing. So we went to England for a month-long tour with the 1975. So that was my introduction to the band, was pretty much rehearsing and then going out to England for about a month. And we did a whole UK tour with them, which was awesome. Touring with the 75 and stuff in England was great. Those guys were really, really nice. And they brought us along, and we got to play in front of a bunch of crazy fans out in England and Scotland and stuff. And it was really, really cool. And that was my pretty much introduction to touring with the guys. And it was awesome.
And when did you start playing drums?
Started playing drums, I believe, from what I can remember, I think I was 5 or 6. just tapping on stuff. My mom, I think, got me like a little practice pad, and then once they realized I was a little more serious about it, I got like my first drum set, I think when I was like 8. And I would just kind of play drums in my garage. I didn't really have anyone to play with because, being 8 years old, there wasn't that many musicians around. So I would just kind of play in my garage and videotape myself playing to like bands that I like on like the stereo and stuff. And that's pretty much how I would jam back then for a while until like, I think I did my first band when I was like in 6th grade. It was like a classic rock cover band. Like we did Metallica and AC/DC stuff and did Battle of the Bands and all that stuff up in San Francisco. It was classic.
Do you have a drum hero?
Do I have a drum hero? I think, obviously classic rock guys, you always look up to guys like Keith Moon and John Bonham. But when I was growing up, I loved Blink-182, and Travis Barker was kind of like the archetype drum god for everyone my age. I was like 12 or 13 when Blink was really taking off, and I would go to all the Blink shows whenever they would come to town, and I would just love watching Travis play. And he was just, I think I actually still incorporate a little bit of his style because Travis hits so hard when he plays live and plays really fast and with so much energy. So I feel like that's probably the most influenced I've been by a drummer is probably Travis Barker.
And a lot of drummers are using, I think you as well use too, the drum beats. Do you use it
too?
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Do you prefer to do on sticks or drum beats to compose?
Oh, like drum machines, you mean?
Yeah, sorry, drum machines.
Both, for this album, it was mostly live stuff we did. It was more of like a organic, natural feel we did. But I love using Ableton a lot. So I really, it just depends on the vibe. I love programming drums. I do it a lot on my own here, my house, my home studio. I'm always kind of cooking stuff up on my own. But there's nothing like jamming on a live kit with everyone when they're in the same room. That feeling's pretty. It's hard to match that for sure. But I think it just depends on what the vibe is and what everyone's going for, I think whatever the situation calls for, I feel like both can be just as enjoyable.
Thank you very much, Brandon. Thank you for your time, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day, man. Stay safe.
Thank you. You too.
All right.
89, a Rádio Rock.